Thank you all for coming. We're really delighted to be here. Thank you, Bruce Swans, for arranging this evening at School of Visual Art, and everybody at the New York Institute of Technology who helped make the exhibition possible as well. The work we're showing at Lumen 2014 is called Conglomerate Distortions Series 1. Japan, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and we envision this as an ongoing series of works that we started last summer, summer of 2014, in our travels throughout about a 2-month period. The series was first inspired by a couple of encounters that we had. The first being a piece of equipment that we came across at Indiana University known as the NOAA Science on a Sphere, and it was developed by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Association for the purpose of displaying data visualizations in a spherical globe-like form. And I'll show you some images of our work displayed on the Science on a Sphere in a minute. And the other encounter that we had that inspired us was Art Basel, Hong Kong, 2014. We visited this exhibition. It's a major international art fair selling of a very diverse range of work, all within a single venue, and found that very overwhelming.
And just additional note to Carlos David Hartley's piece. Actually, Hartley has a salon within the Art Basel Hong Kong, and he displayed 12 of them, and they also out, completely sold out.
Okay, so and from those inspirations, we have obviously collaborating, been engaging in what we're calling a practice of hypertourism, which involves visiting a range of tourist spectacles within a compressed time frame. And again, in this case, it was these three places: Japan, Hong Kong, and Taiwan. And we're using panoptic, omnidirectional cameras that correlate to the Science on the Sphere. So essentially, if you can imagine a camera that makes spherically shaped photographs, and very interestingly includes visual information outside of what we normally think of the camera vision or the framed view. So this is Conglomerate Distortions displayed in Indiana on the NOAA Science on a Sphere, and very inspired by the possibility of storytelling in the round, so to speak. And the cameras we're using, Sala and I both have exactly the same model of camera. We use the Ricoh Theta 360, which can resolve spherical images virtually instantaneously.
Mm-hmm. They basically do a 360, so they have two lenses, and then we'll be able to do top, bottom, left, and right. Basically, it's recreating the sphere.
And they're not straight, what you would conventionally call straight photography. We do a collage process. It's very interpreted. That's how we think of it as art making through a process of collage and juxtapositions that we make. So this is a little bit of an illustration of how we extract portions. Now we're going to talk about some of our previous work that we see as conglomerate distortions as a step along the way in our progression. We're really over a longer time frame, we've been interested in researching human interactions within urban structures and using technology to aid us in doing that. But we're very influenced by the French conceptual mid-20th century artist Guy Debord, who engaged in this practice that he called the dérive, the idea of just going into an urban, typically an urban environment, and allowing your immediate senses to be your guide, having really no specific aim or purpose in your wanderings, so to speak, but just kind of developing a new sense of space within the urban environment. Also interested in mapping, the history of mapping spaces is very influential on us. And in a broader sense, expanding the mode of communication above and beyond verbal communication. So we're working in very often places where we don't speak the local language. We're not able to communicate in some of the ways we take for granted through speech. And we conduct interviews. So untranslated interviews, often a huge portion of our content of our work, we don't understand at all. We can't translate that. But we expand upon verbal communication using drawings, sounds, studying of migration patterns through public transportation, and memories and the idea of collective memory as well.
And the first collaborative piece that we have, we did, is called Talk the Line. And we picked 3 cities. Prague is the first city that we went to in 2007. And this is our first international residency. The reason that we picked Prague is because we try to find a city that has a special social event, be it, a war or some kind of event that can create collective memories for the citizens. So we're particularly interested in Prague Spring in 1968, how that event changed the perception of a cities and how it inscribed a particularly specific moment to the citizens of that city. So we spent a month in Prague, and then we're doing street interviews for like almost 50 people, doing recording, and we also walk around the city recording the sounds of the cities, because Prague in 2007 is already opened, it's open to the world, and the Soviet Union is already collapsed, and everything is changing, and there is a lot of change, and the storefront is all commercialized, and the landscape is really, really different. And then we were able to find a historical photograph of the 1968 Prague Spring event, a group of university students sitting peacefully protesting the invasion of the Warsaw Pact, which was led by the Soviet Union together with 4 other countries. So they were sitting there in the Wenceslas Square, which is a very important landscape and also a very important landmark in the city. And in 2007, when we were there, we were able to go back to the exact site and try to get the same perspective as the historical photograph that you can see right now here. It was still before pre-cell phone. I don't know. Everybody got cell phone. It was still a pre-cell phone era. So what we did is we actually used one of the first generation of this GPS camera, which was produced by Ricoh. It will be able to kind of tag your photograph with a GPS location while you're taking it. So we use that camera, and then we look at GPS at absolute location alongside with images, sounds, commentary of the local people, and the historical documents to reference relative locations. So that's why we want a picture to have in the bottom of the camera. You can see we have the locations, the latitude and longitude of the film.
And it might be important to point out that while the image on the left is a still image, the one on the right was produced through sort of the process of stop motion.
Yeah, it's
stayed
like a
in
video.
That space and made hundreds and hundreds of photographs to produce kind of a moving snapshot type image.
And then in the installation is an interactive piece that using sound, because we interviewed the people and asked them, do you still remember Prague Spring? Does it affect you right now versus back then? The answer reflected between the senior citizens to the younger citizens were different, because the senior citizens still not very much to talk about it, very reserved, and the younger generation, they don't really know very much about it. So this is what we're doing on the street, and that's part of our practices. We really want to reconnect ourselves to the place, to the citizens of that particular place, and then look into some special event that can connect everybody together. And then in the installation, we put together, superimpose the historical photograph with the stop motion video on top of that. And through the interaction is that when the audience came into space, is through sound. When they talk to the microphone, the louder they talk, they will activate and trigger this the sound, and also the image of the historical photograph to kind of resurface again to the surface. So it's kind of a, a suppress and a research process through your voice. And then the next series after this, we went to Hong Kong. I was born in Hong Kong, actually. So unlike Peter, I do know the language, but it's really interesting. I do. I still do, but I forgot some of them, but I still do. But unlike Peter, because he didn't really know the language, so it's very interesting working with two different perspectives. And I think that's also one of the reasons that kind of inspired us to the very current one for the Lumen Prize. We all have our own camera, wandering around to the similar location, taking photographs, and with a very different perspective. But they kind of also together because the camera basically will do everything in the space. So in Hong Kong, we went there in 2008, which was the 10th anniversary of the British handover. It's a little bit, background of that. Hong Kong is a city that is really, everything is in motion. If you were there a year ago, and then you go there again today, it probably changed already. So that's one thing that we really want to kind of look into, how memories work from 10 years ago to then 2008. We interviewed around 20 people. They are at the age of the mid-30. So 10 years ago, during the handover, they are mid-20, mid-30 and mid-20. So they are the group that is greatly affected by the handover because they are the group that are looking into not just their own uncertainty after they graduate from college, looking into something very different. They're also facing the uncertainty of the entire city. So this almost become a very important political spectacle for them. And now 10 years later, when they recall the memories, it almost become a non-event. Some of them still remember very clearly, and some just don't quite remember. The question that we want them to answer is, tell them the location where you were, during the handover, and if you remember what happened, exactly what you were doing. And some of them remember very clearly, and some didn't. And I think that is memories, that some are very clear and some are not very clear. So in the installation, we recreate a map of Hong Kong without the actual boundaries, but we put the location back to the location related to our participants back to the map. So the audience from visiting the installation, actually they interact with the shadow. So when they touch the one particular point, it will activate the sound and also the video. The video is on the other side of the on the opposite side of the gallery. So it's a pretty interesting piece that you kind of know where you are, but you're kind of lost as well. All right, and then it took us to the next city on the series, Taiwan in 2010. This piece is actually still in progress because the complexity of the piece, and also because the thing that we try to look into, it turned out to be far beyond we can imagine. But I think that's good because everything is in progress, the same as this media. So we are in particular interested in the relationship, a very tangible relationship between Taiwan and China, especially China's rising global power. So we spent 6 weeks kind of traveling around Taiwan, and in particular, we take a route that a lot of Taiwanese, I don't know whether if anybody from Taiwan here, no? Oh, one, okay. I hope I'm doing the right thing. So we learned a little bit of, it's kind of an interesting practice. A lot of college graduates, and also people that in that particular point of their life, if they want to kind of make a reflection of what they were going to do, and take a break from what they are doing, and then contemplating for the next step, they often will take on a travel around we called a rite of passage bicycle tour, that they would tourists circumnavigating the island. They would go around the island as if they can reconnect through that. They can reconnect with the land and the water. So this is a very interesting kind of practice for us. And then we're trying to do it the same thing. We've been traveling. We've been traveling almost across Taiwan at the out boundary, from north to south. And then in particular, while we are traveling, we also interview people along two particular locations. One is Taipei in the north, and then one is Kaohsiung in the south. Because the north and south, the citizens have a very, very distinctive political standpoints. One is more into the nationalist party, and one is more into the, we call it the pan-green party. And this is some of the interview we did. We try to talk to as many people as we could and as diverse as we could. You can see, some are more like teenage, and some are more senior citizens. Some are actually a store owner, and then they have different kind of things that they have to like face and worry about in terms of the current relationship between Taiwan and mainland China. And again, the piece is still not yet finished, and we hope that we can return to Taiwan in 2 years and continue working on it.
We definitely think of our works as
progressing
and projects rather than distinct objects, maybe in that sense. Having begun that project, we had arranged another project, this time a residency in Tokyo in 2011, and we were interested in studying urban space as we have been just kind of continuing that trajectory of research. And very open-ended in terms of going into the project, but wanting to understand this variously unrelated and related forces that influence our everyday lives. So this time we approached or eventually were able to involve the participation of 150 people just through wandering the streets of Tokyo and relying on our immediate senses to get us around. As you may have noticed, we're using different forms of communication in the various cities that we're working in. So here, thinking about the strong visual culture of Japan, we worked with drawing, engaging our participants through drawing. And very, very simple 2 prompts we gave them about lost and found. Tell us what you've lost, make a drawing or sketch or related to what you've lost, and then complementary to that, what you have found, and really trying to be careful about the wording to allow that to be open-ended. Now, while what we found, a very unfortunate circumstance prior to our arrival for the residency was the Tohoku earthquake and tsunami in northern Japan in Sendai. And so although we're not we're going into this as open-ended as we can, we found it a very poignant experience. It was a very traumatic period and an ongoing tragedy in Japan, but really inspired by the way something that can seem very, very simple, a simple lost umbrella or a subway card, can contain very complex emotions and story. So we placed an emphasis on portraiture.
Mm-hmm. And then 2 years later, we returned to do another one called Recurrent, a similar approach with interactive interviews. And here is here's the view of what we are doing, what we've been doing, and also.
Okay, sorry. All right. So again, the video that we're showing is conglomerate distortions, and I suppose we've run out of time. We were hoping to show you a little bit and explain it, but thank you for your attendance, and it's playing in the show this year. Thank you.
Thank you.